Okay, are we 6:30, Monica? We ready to go?
Yes, we are. You have a quorum.
Perfect. I would like to call the Flint Board of Education Board Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Board members, as I call your name, please reply present for the public record. Vice President Wright?
Present.
Treasurer Green?
Present.
Secretary Ramsdell? Secretary Ramsdell?
Here, yes, present.
Trustee Perry?
Present.
Trustee McIntosh? Hi, Ms. McIntosh, how are you? Trustee Strozier?
He had said he was
Trustee,
coming.
say it again?
I said, when I talked to Blake earlier, he was coming to the meeting.
Yeah, I just spoke with him prior to the meeting, so I think he might just be running a minute behind. So it looks like currently board members present 6, board members absent. Strozier?
Good evening, everybody.
Oh, there he is. So all board members are present. At this time, the board will hear any comments from the public. Public members that have joined our meeting remotely are able to submit their questions through the question section or may send an email prior to the meeting. Members of the public are reminded that the Board of Education, by its bylaw 1370, are not obligated to answer questions, make statements, or commitments in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such issues will be referred to the superintendent for investigation, study, or recommendation. At this time, I will ask Stephen if there are any comments from the public. I know it may take a moment for him to review, so I'll pause to give time for the public to finalize submitting their questions and allow Stephen to advise before I proceed.
Good evening, everyone. There are currently no questions in this section.
The community is reminded that they may submit their questions by email to FBOE@flintschools.org to have their questions read at the next meeting. Thank you. I now turn the floor over to Trustee Perry for the Human Resources Committee of the Whole meeting.
Yeah, you would. Now, I had lost my page. Okay, I'd like to call to order the Human Resources Committee of the Whole meeting, and I'd like Mrs. Washington to present the one action item that we have. Mrs. Washington?
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, Ms. Washington.
I seek a motion and second to move action item 1.7 personnel recommendations to the regular board meeting on May 20, 2020 for board adoption.
So moved.
Is somebody
So
seconding it?
Board member,
Okay, I'll second.
remember, you gotta unmute yourself when you want to.
Every
I
single
did
person
second it.
talking right now, but they're all muted. They're all muted.
Second.
Okay, let Blake go ahead and second it. That's okay.
Yep.
All right, it's been moved and second that we move action item 1.7 personnel recommendations to the regular board meeting on May 20th. Is there any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move action item 1.7 personnel recommendations to the regular board for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Miss Green?
Yes.
Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Ramsdale? Ms. Ramsdale?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Strozier? Mr.
Yes.
Strozier?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
And then myself, Vera Perry, yes. The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Seeing no further action, I declare the Human Resources Committee of the Whole meeting to adjourn. I now turn the floor over to Vice President Wright for the Governance Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda.
I would like to call to order the Governance Committee of the Whole meetings. We'll start with action item 5.1, rescission of Neola supplemental policies. I need a motion and second to move action item 5.1, rescission of Neola supplemental board policies to the regular board meeting on May 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. It has been properly moved and second that we move action item 5.1, rescission of Neola supplemental board policies to the regular board meeting on May 20th for adoption. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Ramsdale.
I would like to table this, and I will give you my reasons why. I just really feel like I need to be where we can sit down with both sides, look at everything, ask questions. I understand this is important, but right now I don't think it is of this important. I would like to see it tabled until September or October, or whenever we can meet as a physical group. I'm not saying I'm pro or against. I'm just saying I need to know more, and I want to hear. What I want to hear is, okay, this proposal is better because, and then to know the reasons why. I'm just much more comfortable with it that way. So I would like to be able to make that motion, and so I will vote no, so that if there's a majority that follows me, that we could make a new motion and this would be tabled.
I'd second that.
So what's the process for tabling, Monica?
It
Do
just
we
has to
vote
be,
on tabling, or is there a new motion for tabling it?
Betty made the motion and Blake seconded it to table it.
Oh, okay. So it has been moved and second that we table the motion to do a rescission of the Neola policies. I'm trying to make sure. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong piece of paper. That would have been moved to the regular board meeting on May 20th. So I will do a roll call vote for that. Danielle Green.
Yes.
So you're saying, wait a minute, is the yes that you?
yes to table, no to carry through till the next meeting.
Okay, yes to table. Okay, Danielle is a yes. Carol
No.
McIntosh,
No.
Casey Lester,
Yes.
Sarah Perry,
No.
Betty Ramsdale,
Yes.
Blake Strozier,
Yes.
and Diana Wright, no. So the motion passes 4-3. Okay, so how does that affect the other revisions? Is that part of the
Point of order.
tabling as well?
Point of order,
Yes.
Madam Chair. My question was about that as well, because the Neola requirements and board policies are directly connected to action item 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, and 5.5, which I believe if we're tabling one, we tabled the entire section.
Okay, so is that the consensus of everyone, that we table all of this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I
So
totally
since each one had a vote on its own, so I think we have to vote on each one.
Okay.
So 5.2, someone needs to make a motion to table. That is the first reading of the revised board policy 3610.
Madam Chair, can we take them in batch though? 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, and 5.5?
No. I will not agree to a batch.
Well, I will move that we table action item 5.2, first reading of revised board policy 3610, person, goods, and services until further notice.
I second that.
Okay. Okay, it has been moved and properly second that we will table action item 5.2, first reading of the revised policy 3610, purchasing goods and services, I will do a roll call vote. Danielle Green.
Yes.
Who is that? My phone or someone else's?
That was my baby FaceTiming me. I apologize.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. I didn't know because it was in. I didn't know if it was my phone. I'm like, okay.
Yes, sir.
Carol McIntosh,
No.
Casey Lester,
Yes.
Beer Perry,
No.
Betty Ramsdale,
Yes.
Blake Strozier,
Yes.
Diana Wright. No. So the motion passes 4-3.
Madam Chair, I
Okay.
make a motion that we move action item 5.3 for, 5.3, first reading of new board policy 3615, federal purchasing of goods and services, that we table it until further notice.
Okay,
Second.
it has to move. I do need to have a point of discussion for this particular policy. So I don't know, after the second, Monica, is there a point to have a discussion at all?
Yes, you
Ms.
can.
Wright, Ms. Wright, this is Attorney Sabiktroff. May I be heard?
Yes, you're probably going to bring about the same point that I was. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it is important that we consider and move this forward today for the reason that failing to do that will cause a negative audit outcome.
Mhm.
We've been advised by our auditor that we need to have a federal purchasing policy, or we will be admonished for failing to have one.
Right,
If
and that was
this, then we will almost certainly be out of compliance in our audit.
right, and that was the point that I was going to make, that this particular policy was being revised because we have been cited in our annual audit for this for 2 years in a row. So I don't, some of these things are important to get done.
Time sensitive.
Correct.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Ms. Perry.
5.3 and 5.5 are new board policies. That's the prohibition of referral or assistance. We have never had that on our books. We need to get that one on the books, because that's the one that tells and lets staff know you cannot assist a young person trying to get an abortion. So we need to cover ourselves. Now, if you want to hold up everything else, do what you do. But you can, the new policies, we can't hold these up, because we might get in some serious trouble.
Yeah, so I agree with Ms. Perry. There are 2 of these policies that are, one is based on, new legislation or school law issues, and the purchasing policy, we have been audited for that 2 years in a row, to my understanding. So I'm hoping that the board will see fit to pass those 2 policies.
That's for
So,
5.3. Oh, I'm sorry.
so that being said, are there any other comments about this before we take a vote for them?
Question.
So, Mrs. Wright, this is Anita. Can I just add to what both you and the attorney just stated? So 5.3, that is correct. If we do not have anything in place for 5.3 by June 30th, we may receive another finding from our auditors for 5.3. And 5.5, as has been stated, that is a new policy as well that we do not have. But the one that we, if we do not have in place by June 30th, we may, and I'm only saying may because I don't know what the auditor is going to do. We've already had a finding for not having 5.3, but we may get another finding for 5.3 if we do not have it in place by June 30th. So I just wanted to echo what the attorney said and Mrs. Wright for 5.3 and 5.5.
Lord have mercy.
May I? Ms.
Mrs.
Perry?
Ramsdale?
Okay, so can approve 5.3 and it will go on the books and we could, so it can be considered the first reading. Next week would be the second reading, and then that would be on the books.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about how the readings go. Monica, does that happen that quickly?
Yes, it will be a first reading, and then what you're adopting tonight is acceptance of the first reading of this policy, and then moving it to the May 20 meeting for a second reading and adoption.
But
Okay,
that
all right.
policy.
So then, as Mrs. Ramsdale said, it would be on the books at that point.
Yes. Yes. It will be in addition to what we already have.
Madam
Which
Chair,
is, yes, Mr. Strozier.
I will rescind my motion for action item 5.3 to table. I just hope that in the future that information like this will be shared prior to board meetings, that and outside of governance, this was given to us another day or earlier. Maybe we could have gotten some more information, did some research further into it to understand the logistics. This is something that's been going on for 2 years. Then to bring it to us, not saying the Williams firm anyone did it at the last minute, but just saying for us to not have information prior to this meeting puts us in a position where it's almost as if we have to do it. And I'd rather us be proactive rather than reactive with a lot of what we do now.
Well,
Excuse me.
Mrs. McIntyre.
We had this before the pandemic even broke out. We discussed this along with some of the other things that are possibly being batched with these items. We went over this several times. We sat down with legal and discussed these things. These are not new things that have came before this board. That's all.
Some of this,
And,
though, are things that have been rehatched, and well, that's another discussion another day, though. So I will rescind my motion for 5.3, though, and I will vote to accept it for this meeting.
As will I.
Okay,
Miss-
so Mrs. Did someone else say something?
No, I was just going to say Ms. Perry probably could do another roll call.
Miss Perry, that would
That's
be
Mrs. Wright.
Perry wasn't involved in that.
Oh, sorry, Miss Wright. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, so seeing no further discussion, the vote is on the motion to move the first reading of the new board policy 3615, federal purchasing goods and services, and move that to the full board for adoption. So please respond yes or no.
I'm sorry,
Danielle,
can
Ms.
you
Perry,
repeat that? I mean, you said yes is for what, no is for what? I'm
yes
sorry.
is for if you approve it going to the full board, and no is if you don't approve.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Green,
Yes.
Ms. McIntosh,
Yes.
Mr. Lester,
Yes.
Mrs. Perry,
Yes.
Mrs. Ramsdale,
Yes.
Mr. Strozier,
Yes.
and Diana Wright, yes. So the motion passes 7-0. So action item 5.4, somebody want to jump in and do what they want to do, what they're going to do with that one?
I make a motion to table action item 5.4 for the until further notice.
Okay. Did I hear a second?
Yes.
Second. Oh,
Okay, it has been moved. Did I? Okay. Was that you, Danielle? Okay. It has been properly moved and second that we table action item 5.4, first reading of revised board policy 5230, conflict of interest. Is there any further discussion on that?
Yes.
Mrs.
Yes.
McIntyre?
So we're tabling this. I need a point of clarity. Are we putting this with the Neola issue? That is why we're waiting to move this forward. Is that what I'm hearing?
Madam Chair, can I respond?
Sure, Mr. Stroh, you go right ahead.
I would say it would be to kind of pair them together because I feel that it's a revision onto our policies and procedures. So I think that those kind of go hand in hand with each other.
Ms. Wright,
Any other comments? Yes.
this is Attorney Sigtroth.
Okay.
I want to raise the issue that this conflict of interest policy as well was revised with the help of the Finance Department, again, to comply with federal procurement regulations. And I shared the concern that I had with policy 3615. This is not moved forward and approved by June. This could also result in a negative finding on our audit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree with you, Sean. I can't pronounce your last name. Could you
It's a big
pronounce that
trouble.
for
Just say Attorney Sean.
You
Attorney Sean?
Attorney Sean.
Attorney Sean, I agree that most of these that are being revised for first readings are important and should be approved. That's just my stance on that. So any other comment about that?
Yes, I like to just say too, this was the one that stated that we could not have more than a 10% stake in anything dealing with the district for a personal monomial gain. So I don't know, it seems pretty clear cut, I don't know, but I would not want anybody sitting on a board or anywhere else in our district making decisions based off the fact that they are going to gain financially. This seems pretty cut and clear, but that's just my thing.
Yeah, I think that most of these are pretty clear, but everybody needs to have the time to make sure they have the correct understanding. So,
Mrs. Wright, I would like to form a question if I can.
sure, go ahead.
Is Carrie Selinsky, is she available on the line right now?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, clarification, please forgive my daughter crying in the background. Is this policy necessary at this time? And the Neola policy, which was done for $43,360 in 2015, 2018, will our Neola policy, if we were to revamp and revise those policies, would it suffice the requirement by the state?
So I prepared 3615 and 5230. They do go hand in hand. And I guess the last part of your question, I'm not sure because are we using Neola or we have two policies that are conflicting. And so that's where we're a little bit we're confused as to which would be the actual policy that governs this board in the district.
And that's kind of where I was kind of leaning towards. I still have one more question there. That is one of the things I was leaning towards because I want clarity on the understanding of if we were to revamp what we have, because we did do a lot of work into developing policy for certain issues like this. And rather than to reinvent the wheel and rewrite policy, if it would be prudent for us to look into what we already have and if we can make revisions on what we have. And as you said, we do have two policies. Instead of rewriting or redeveloping something, to use what we have with Neola, or whether it is best to just write something else. So that's my perspective on this. Is we do have something established. I would rather us to look into how we can make improvements on what we have rather than to just, even though this conflict of interest is something that definitely, I'm not saying it's not needed. It definitely is. No one wants to have a person on the school board that has potential conflict for business purposes and could potentially be making a lucrative arrangement for themselves. But I would like for us to look into if we can take something that we've already developed, already has been established, already has been vetted, and already has been approved 6-0 by the board before we begin looking into other policies.
Yeah, and I
Ms.
will say I did not, unfortunately, I did not look in the Neola policy as to what that conflict of interest, if that one has been updated for federal policy. I do know that the federal purchasing is included in the purchasing policy. It does need one addition to it to be compliant, but that's where I guess the confusion is. Are we updating the old or do we want to update the Neola? So that's where we need to take some direction from the board. Thank you.
Ms. McIntosh and then Mrs. Ramsdale.
Okay, I guess I need a point of clarity. Neola needs to be updated, but do we update Neola or do we update our own policies? Or do we have the option to, I'm not understanding that. So could I get a point of clarity from somebody?
Can I answer
My
that?
understanding-
We can, do you want me to answer that? We can update Neola. They send out updates quarterly, at least twice a year to update. So we can update Neola. I had prepared an update for the Neola purchasing policy, but the direction I was given was that we were going to update the Flint policy. So you can do either one. Policy should always be what the district is doing and be tailored to how your district is ran, whether it's your own set or a Neola set or any other vendor. That there's lots of different vendors out there. These just happen to be two.
That is true.
Okay, okay, so we're gonna get, okay, for me, I still rather work with our own policies because it's tailored for our district, but okay, I understand now. Thank you.
Mrs. Ramsdale.
This is some of the reasons that I asked to postpone or table some of this. I think that I'm going to vote no on this, but just because I think that we can use practices, common cause or good practices in how we're dealing with how we get paid or not, I shouldn't say how we get paid, but with the purchasing and et cetera, that we can use good business practice and understand in any of these, and that if there's a conflict, that we would, that we, it can come to the board or something, if something is being dealt incorrectly, that Gary could bring it to us. So, but this is the reason I think we all need to sit down with everything.
I don't
Well,
If I may.
I do want to remind the board that we had a discussion regarding this conflict of interest policy several months back and decided on some changes that we wanted. So, I'm kind of confused by the confusion because we had a lengthy discussion regarding revising our conflict of interest policies. So, and here again, a lot of this was brought about because of, well, all of it, the whole process was brought about because of the confusion between the two policies, which we adopted based on our superintendent's recommendation that we would use the Neola and the Flint, but the former Flint policy would always override what was in Neola. So that's why I think there's no point in having Neola if our policies would always override them. So, but none of these revised policies are just pulled out of the sky to be done. They're being done because there was an issue somewhere that required a revision of the policies. So if we don't do these things, we will continue to have findings, audit problems, not being in compliance with legislation regarding, regarding whatever these things, regarding the changes that we're making. So we're not just making changes because we don't like Neola or for whatever reason. There's a reason behind each of these. So I really hope that as you all are talking about what you do or don't like, that you consider that this is our responsibility to revise and update our policies, and that postponing any and all of this takes years to be done. So, and we've spent several years working on the even on the Neola, and then for the past 2 years we did not have a single governance meeting, which was the responsibility of the vice presidents to conduct those meetings based on those things that we said we wanted changed during board meetings. We have not had a governance meeting in 2 years. So we don't have the time to continue postponing these things. That's just, my point of view, but I respect the majority position of the board. So we are at.
Can I say something? This is Kendall
Go
Williams.
ahead.
This is to Mr. Strozier's point. The conflict of interest board policy 5230 was adopted by the Flint School Board in 2001, and it's a very robust policy. As probably only Ms. Perry remembers, the board had extensive discussion and did extensive modification of that policy in 2010. And it was modified extensively in March of 2010. And there is a far less robust and very skinny Neola conflict of interest policy. That's where staff has a confusion, because we have one very extensive board policy regarding conflict of interest. It complies with the state law. There's a state conflict of interest statute that you have to comply with. This board policy complies with it. And the point that the CFO made was that the federal procurement regulations require the language that's been added to this draft policy so that you're compliant there. So to Mr. Strozier's point, this is enhancing or adding to what has been in existence for a decade. The Flint School Board worked on this, has adopted it, and this just simply enhances what you have put in place and comports and complies with the federal regulations, which would obviously relate to all of your federal grants. Thank you.
And if I can say something, Mrs. Wright, I appreciate Attorney Williams giving me that. I definitely appreciate the work that your firm does. I agree with Mrs. Ramsdale, though, that because of these issues, I would feel more comfortable we were able to look and see everything through rather than to, and I understand the issues with timing and everything, but it's just to cover ourselves and to make sure that everything is done accordingly. I would just feel comfortable we just were to table it. And I take it from the response from our chairperson that the last 2 years since I'm the sitting vice president, that was an insult to me. I will take that for what it is worth, but I will say that I would feel comfortable if we just were to table this until we were able to sit down and review all the documentation.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
So what I
Was that
don't want,
Tracy?
yes ma'am, that was me. So what I don't want to happen is that I don't want the idea that we would like to table this to be confused with the idea that we disagree with it. Because for me, I'm not saying I'm for one or the other. What I'm saying is I don't know enough to make a confident vote for something right now, because I haven't had what I need for adequate time to understand all that stuff. So I'm not saying yay or nay. I know we've spent money on Neola. I don't want to waste any money. I know, you know what I mean? I just want to be able to take, whether it's a week or two or what it takes, to be able to have a conversation, figure out, do my own research, be more in the know about what's going on. So I don't want anybody to think that tabling this means that we're adamantly and vehemently opposed to it. It's that I don't personally, with as much going on as we have, I haven't had enough time to understand where I would physically stand on any of this. A lot of this stuff is much easier done in a physical meeting because we can have an easier conversation. This is much more difficult being done remotely. And it's not an easy yes or no for me, obviously. So that's that's one point. The other thing is when it comes to policy, I think figuring out specifics, as you and I discussed earlier, there's some ambiguity with policy that I want to remove, and that comes with the conversation we had about operating expense versus non-operating expense, right? Like we don't need to approve a ream of paper, we need to approve other items. And so that's where I stand. That's the reason that I'm looking to table this, is because I haven't had enough, I don't have enough information to be able to make a confident and comfortable vote. So that's where I'm at. This isn't a blatant no or yes in either direction. This is just simply me not having enough information to confidently make the vote in one direction or the other.
Okay,
Okay.
so did I see someone say, Ms.
Yes.
McIntosh?
What was the time sensitivity to this? Because it's not really based on when we get around to it, and I understand people need a time to understand the intricate details, but like Ms. Rice said, the whole point in this being before us is because we are in a ill standing, and that we have been put on notice to address these issues, and a date has been given to us for these things to be dealt with. And Ms. Nita, what was that date?
So the only one that I know of for sure is the one for the federal purchasing of goods and services. That one we need to have in place by June 30th, or we may receive another finding. I know that Carrie did say that the 5230 and the 3615 were tied to each other, but I'm not 100% sure, and I don't want to speak. Carrie, do we need to have the 5230 in place by June 30th as well?
Yes, and the other thing we really need that MDE is looking at is one set of policies. So
Right.
whether we temporarily rescind one or the other, and then that way we can then we can make sure that the policies in whichever one that the group decides is appropriate, and we have things by year end, then we will be fine. But the conflicting policy is a concern from MDE, especially surrounding our federal grants. So, and the other thing, if I just may add, please, there still is conflicting purchasing policies, and if we're just tabling that until next month, until we can have more finance committee meetings and governance, that's completely fine. But I still, my major concern and why this whole conversation really got underway is because it's very important to me and my team that we are doing in providing the information to the board that's being requested. And the way the policies are conflicting, it's very difficult for us to determine what it is you would like to see.
Okay, I understand all that. So the board is saying they would like to get together in person and do like a workshop and go over this as a group before this June deadline. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, what I'm saying is I think it's easier. We obviously don't have that. I mean, that's not an option. We're not going to be back having physical meetings by the 30th. What I'm saying is some of this kind of back and forth is the result of a digital meeting versus being able to have a conversation in person.
We discussed this in one of our last meetings that we got together. We went over these things in person, but that's neither here nor there. If people still need more time, that's understandable. My question at this point is, if we're up against a June 30th deadline, when do you guys propose that you will be able to, do you think by June 30th you will be able to sit down and go over this information to your satisfactory so that we can make a vote, move ahead, instead of getting fined for not having ourselves together when this has been brought before us?
Mrs. Wright, if I can, bring it before governance is not entirely in front of the whole board. So that's the first thing that we need to address is we need to have it in front of the entire board.
We did.
That was governance.
No, that was,
Governance.
no, it was.
But
No,
wait
it
a minute.
was not.
There's a process by which we do things. It goes to the subcommittee, then it goes to committee of the whole, and then it goes to the full board. So this is
And I
just part of
acknowledge
the
that.
process. As with any other committee, it goes to the subcommittee, committee of the whole, and then the board. So this is not an issue that, because when it first came up, we were in a governance committee of the whole, not just a subcommittee. So to say that it's just coming before the governance committee is inaccurate.
And that was months ago.
But Madam Chair, I can't speak for everyone, but I would feel comfortable if we were able to discuss it in a larger format where we could get our information available, ask questions, and have discussion around the Neola information as well as the proposed information and be able to see everything for what it's worth. That's what
And I understand that, Mr. Strozier, and both the Neola policy and the regular board policy are both on the website. So if some type of meeting can be held electronically where you want to compare those things, I don't have an issue with it at all. I just would like the issue resolved one way or another.
Can I make a suggestion?
Mrs. Ramsdale.
Is it possible to have, Carrie, if you could send, and if this is possible, then that's fine. If not, or if I'm breaking some rules, okay. But if you would, if you could send us what you feel is the best policy and the reasons why, and how it could be done, timeline, maybe just some bullet points, so that help us, and then we can read it on the website too. But if we know, because obviously this is something you have to report and you have to follow the guidelines for the district, of course. So if you could do that, if I could see what you put down in bullet points, and then if I could call you questions and then look at it on the website, I think that would be helpful. I don't know. How do you feel, Mr. Lester, about that?
I want to make a comment, and then Danielle's hand was up. One of the things I want to remind the board of is that you have redline copies of the board policies that Mrs. Sikelski worked with along with Attorney Sean. The redline copy shows what the policy used to say, and it has, they have struck through the changes and either added or taken away language that way, so you can actually see at the same time what the policy used to say and what it will say. All of those were emailed to you yesterday or the day before as preparation for yesterday's meeting. So the information that you are asking for, you already have. And it was worked on by Mrs. Sikelski and the board, one of the attorneys in the Williams firm. So we're asking for something that we already have.
Exactly.
I will just call Carrie then and ask her separately. Then I won't ask her to do it here. I'll just call with my questions later. Thank you.
Well, and I'm not suggesting that you not have questions, but I am suggesting that you read the policies that you've been given before we propose the questions.
I understand.
And
Okay, thank you.
I'll appreciate more. So that's all.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's fine. Did I hear you, Mr. Strozier?
That's my
Well,
turn.
Danielle
No,
has her hand up.
it's Mrs. Wright.
Oh,
It's
Danielle, go
Mrs.
ahead,
Grant.
Danielle. Go ahead, Danielle.
For me, I would vote to table just about anything where I have fellow board members who are confused and need more information. I just only feel that we do that. I would want that done for me. But with the time sensitivity, that's concerning to me. So how would it look what would we do to temporarily adopt a policy?
I'm
We will-
sorry, Jan.
And I guess,
Danielle, your microphone's breaking
I
up.
didn't hear you, Danielle.
so what would we need to do to temporarily adopt a policy so we won't get have a violation again? Because the time sensitivity is concerning to me, even though if I had concerns and questions, I would appreciate the board's support in tabling something I needed more help or more information on. And I would do the same for all my board members. So this goes, Carrie, I guess, Anita, can we temporarily adopt the time-sensitive policies to avoid being violating some law or whatever we're violating? I don't think it's a fine connected to it, but can we do that?
So what I know, you could go with, say that you want to go with temporary, the Flint policy, or Flint Community Schools policy, or you could say that you want to go with the Neola policy. You can the board can make that decision to do that, and then one would come off, and we would just have one, and therefore be able to continue to do what it is that we do as far as our auditors are concerned, and then over the course of time, between now and whenever, the board can continue to meet and look at both and make decisions about what it is that they want to do with either. We've, either way you go, we've paid for Neola through 2023. So Neola is not going away. If you drop it off and you go with the Flint policies and you just continue to work with the Flint policies, or if you stay with Neola, you still own your Flint policy. So whatever it is that you decide to do, if you want to make revisions to that when you guys come back together. So, either way it goes, you can make the decision to drop one so that we don't have the findings when from our auditors June 30th. I hope that answered your question.
If I may, this is Monica. I just want to interject for the board and provide. It is spring of 2023 that we are under with Neola. So we'll be covered until spring of 2023.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Wright, can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
So to the best of my understanding, the only time-sensitive thing that we had was 5.3, correct? The federal purchasing of goods and services?
So you have
I think I heard 3 different policies that are time sensitive. There were 3 of them.
15, 6215, I think, and 5230. Awesome.
Yeah.
So action item 5.3 and 5.4 were the 2 that were time-sensitive?
No, 5.3 and 5.5 initially. Then it went to 5.3, 5.4, and 5.5. Now it's 5.3 and
Actually,
5.4.
the time sensitive ones were the 5.2 and then 5.3, which is
which we're
sort
voting
of,
on next week.
so they are 5.2 and 5.4, which are sort of interrelated regarding conflict of interest. So there were only 3 that seemed to have a little bit of urgency around them.
And then 5.3 has already been, that's moved to next week, so we're going to vote on that anyway. So that gets rid of one of the time-sensitive things.
So, right.
And then we have another meeting before June 30th, which will give us time to take a look at 5.2 and 5.4. So the time sensitivity is obviously being taken care of. The other thing, and I've spoken with administration, and please, Anita and Carrie, please feel free to jump in, but quite frankly, I don't think they care one direction or the other. I think they just want one policy versus the ambiguity of having both. So I don't think they care, and ladies, by all means, jump in if I'm saying something incorrectly, but I don't think Anita nor Carrie have a preference for Neola versus FCS policy. They just want one versus the other. Is that correct?
That is correct, President Lester.
Okay. So that's, I mean, looking at this, we're voting for one of the time-sensitive things next week. That's taken care of. The other 2 time-sensitive things we could vote on by the end of June. That would be taken care of, and that's part of the process, right? It's getting information, understanding it, making the votes. If it doesn't happen today, that's not the end of the world. It's just something that, you know, we vote on and we move forward. Am I missing something on that? It seems like this is becoming a bit more of an issue than what it should have been.
It's not that difficult at all, in my opinion, but it has become a contentious issue for some reason.
That being said, I think we all figured, I mean, we all plan to have a vote in before June 30th, before we're outside of the time compliance. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Yes. So, and I guess what I just need to know, I'm trying to figure out where we are. So we have,
The motion on the floor is to table 5.4.
which one, Monica? 5.4?
Correct.
Okay, so
Question,
we
Madam
need
Chair.
to go ahead and, go ahead, Mr. Strozier.
I agree with what President Lester said. I also was listening to what Mrs. Green said in regards to if we could send something to the state in regards to how we are going to approach this in the meantime, as we prepare ourselves for either reviewing what we have or accepting what we've previously used. I would be keen to, you know, I'm willing to accept the June 30th deadline for us to review it. Speaking that we're in the midst of a pandemic and we have no idea when any of this will clear up, I want to allow us the ability to have some flexibility with this. So I would be keen. I know that I did make the motion. If there's a second, I would be keen to us accepting Neola until we get to a place where we can approve or deny what we have proposed with our policies. So asserting into the motion that we use Neola until we can resolve our issues with certain parts of our policies.
So how, Mrs. Ramsdale?
I'm not in agreement.
Since we accepted, you know, just going along with what Mr. Strozier said, unless I misunderstood Ms. Stewart, was that since we've accepted Neola, we actually, or Carrie, we actually are covered under Neola. And what we're voting on would be, it could be a change. So are we covered, Carrie? Are we covered if we say we accept Neola? But that's always open for, that can be open for change at any point. The board can can change a policy at any point. Is that correct?
Yep, either policy that the board chooses to use can be modified and adjusted to be compliant with federal law and Michigan law. But really the goal would be to get to that one policy, and then that way administration can work with chairs to figure out which policies do need to be adopted or revised.
Okay. I don't know if that's helpful or not to anybody, but so it seems we're covered and that we then, you know, can modify it in some way.
So you all have decided for Neola for all of us?
No, you all get to vote. I mean, everybody gets to vote.
One vote, one say.
Yeah, Carol, it's been decided. Carol, yes.
I know, I'm not.
Well, you know,
We voted to keep our old policy the last time we addressed this. I'm gonna abstain because this is just
You
ridiculous.
can't abstain.
You can't abstain, Carol. You can't do that.
Well,
But I also want to remind the board that
this is ridiculous.
by adopting Neola, we are going, the board will, not the board, but the administration will then be charged with creating guidelines, whereas the Flint Community School policies already have, for the most part, the regulations that go along with them. So what we're actually doing is creating work for our administrative staff.
Well, then my suggestion is we keep the June 30th date in mind and let us, you know, if this has been gone on long enough, let's keep the June 30th date in mind, and it's the four of us who are talking about it, and it's to and figure out what we can do. Then it's on,
This is,
it's
Ms. Green.
on,
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
no, that's all right, that's all right.
Ms. Green.
Guideline, that was confusing for me when I heard that.
Neola calls them guidelines and we call them regulation.
Okay,
I think, we talked about that earlier.
when I say guidelines, I'm talking about Neola.
Yeah, man.
I understand it does have guidelines with their policy.
I can't hear you, Dan.
Carol, are you,
say something?
You're
Whether it's
breaking up.
somebody, feel free to chime in. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
Can I say something?
I didn't hear what you said, Danielle. Can you repeat that, please?
I'm
Because you were breaking up.
I'm sorry. So from my understanding, Neola does have guidelines with their policies. So I learned this earlier today. So that's where some confusion is coming in also. And it's just a lot of confusion. Carrie, and correct.
Can I say something?
Ms.
Can I say
Perry,
something?
Ms. Perry,
For every policy that's written,
Mhm.
then administration has to write a regulation. Right now, it would be, in my opinion, it would be very detrimental
Mhm.
for us to be going into giving that type of work to administration right now, because we are in this pandemic situation. I understand that the state wants us to make a choice, but we can't, I personally don't think we can put that much work on administration, because they've still got to figure out, along with the governor, is school going to start? If it is not going to start, what are we going to do? We have these issues coming forth to us, and we're now getting ready to tie their hands up with having to make regulations to go along with Neola. And that's the fault of the previous administration, because they wanted us to have Neola but they never that administration never had the administration to write the regulations, because it is our people's responsibility to do that. So I would just hate to put that load on them now, because this is the month of May, and we still have to come up with something for school to be able to start next year. And we've got to get some things in place as far as policies are concerned to deal with COVID as we move on, because COVID's not going anywhere. So we got so much ahead of us, and now we're getting ready to tie their hands. So I wish we could just, as Carrie said, if you want to change your mind down the road, that's fine. But right now, we need to get through all of this just to have something in place, because we're facing some horrible times right now. We're in the middle of a mess. So that's all I have to say.
Right, may I be heard? This is Attorney Sean. My impression, and please forgive me, Ms. Stewart or Ms. Sikelski, if I'm wrong here. The administration has always looked to what I will call as the school district's own policies as the primary policies, and has only looked to the Neola policies as supplemental. If the committee of the whole were to move to use the Neola policies as the primary policy, that would be the first time the school district would be using the policy in that way. And furthermore, as Ms. Perry pointed out, there's no administrative treatment of those Neola policies. So
I see you, Carol.
I think if we were to adopt one or the other of the policies to be the primary policy, it would be my recommendation that it would be the policy that we have continuously treated as the primary policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, Attorney Sean. Mrs. McIntosh.
Then I would like
Can't
to
hear.
say, Mr. Wright.
Okay, so you after Carol. Carol, we can't hear you, Carol. Mr. Stroger, will you go ahead while Carol gets her audio and together?
The person,
Now here she is.
whoever was running the meeting had me muted, but I don't have anything to say. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr.
I would support June. I would support us tabling it until our June meeting before we end. Just a few things I want to point out. Neola actually was brought up under the Watkins administration, 2015, by the CSMI Foundation grant of $43,360 to utilize Neola. At the time, it was under 3 presidents, Oliver, Woodson, and then Mrs. Wright. It was approved in August 1st, 2018. The whole concept is because of the fact that we were encountering, Attorney Winship, Attorney Williams, absolutely right, we were encountering all these issues with our policies and with our auditors. That the reason why we decided to go to Neola was because of the policies needing to be adjusted and corrected. I just want, and the policies not being adhered to or administratively reviewed in the process that they were supposed to be, that does fall in our previous administration. So I do agree with Mrs. Perry about that. I would rather us just see how they work out and see what we can do, because Neola has been something that has been bought, paid for, and has been established so that we can make improvements and adjustments where necessary to better the district. It's no need to reinvent the wheel if you already have the components for the wheel right in front of you. So I'm just asking that we postpone, table until until the June 30th, and I call for the question.
Okay, so we're about to.
It's been called in the discussion, so I'll need a vote. I need a second for the call for the question.
Okay, so when you say call for the question, which question? Because we have several questions and Ms. Green has.
It ends discussion.
I said second.
Thank you. You're a second, then I need a roll call vote.
Okay, what are we, okay,
Calling
Monica,
for the
I hear you,
question.
but what are we?
Calling for the question stops all discussion.
Okay, but my question is, which of these are we voting on? That's all I want to know.
5.4.
We're gonna vote on the call for the question
Okay,
first.
5.4. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I just want to know because we've kind of gone back and forth. That's all I want to know. 5.4. All right, so the vote is on the motion for
the
action
call
item.
for the question. You have to vote on the call for the question first.
Okay, call for the question. Okay, Danielle Green,
Yes.
Carol McIntosh,
I have no idea even what's going on. I'm just, what are we voting on?
Blake called for the question, which ends all discussion about the current discussion about 5.4. I now have to have a roll call vote to call for the question, so I need to hear consensus from the board if we are ending discussion about 5.4.
Yes, voting to end discussion, yes.
Casey Lester,
Yes.
Vera Perry,
Yes.
Eddie Ramsdale, Mr. Ramsdale,
Yes.
Blake Strozier,
Yes.
and Diana Wright is yes also. Okay, so now do we vote on the motion?
Correct.
Okay, so the vote is on the motion to table action item 5.4, first reading of the revised policy 5230, conflict of interest. Seeing no further discussion, vote yes or no. Danielle Green?
Is it yes to table it or which?
Yes. To table. Yes. So Danielle?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes to table and no for,
You can only vote yes or no once.
You could do what?
We're only voting yes or no to table.
You can only vote to table it?
You can vote
No.
yes, you want to, or no, you don't.
You
You
vote
want
no.
yes or
table it.
no if you don't want to table it.
Do you want to table it?
Yeah, I'm thinking. No, I don't want, no.
Okay, Casey,
Yes, table.
Lester, Pierre Perry,
No.
Betty Ramsdale,
Yes.
Alex Strozier,
Yes.
and Diana Wright, no. So the motion to table passes 4-3. Okay, we're moving to action item 5.5, first reading of board policy 5860, prohibition of referral assistance.
So
Need
moved.
a second. Did I hear a second? Did I hear a second? I didn't hear a second, so I'm going to assume that it was made. It has been properly moved and second that we
Point of clarity.
You can't.
Or-
You
I
can't.
need a second. I need a second in order to proceed.
If it's not,
because I didn't hear one, I assumed that it happened. So
no, you
'cause
can't. You can't.
you guys are breaking up, so I can't, you know. Okay.
Second.
Okay,
Okay, did I hear a second from Casey?
Second.
Okay. It has been properly moved and second that we approve action item 5.5, first reading of the new board policy 5860, prohibition of referral or assistance. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
So, yes.
Miss Perry, and did I hear someone else?
That was Casey.
Blake Strozier, 2 after Casey Lester.
Okay, Miss Perry, then Casey, then Mr. Strozier.
As I stated before, this is a brand new policy. We do not have this policy on anything. This one needs to pass through because just in case, I mean, I don't foresee it to happen, but you never know what will happen. We didn't foresee a coronavirus. So just in case something happens, then we could be sued. We need to have ourselves covered with this brand new policy. I'm finished.
so state what the policy is, Ms. Perry.
The policy is that no employee can basically help a student to get an abortion, advise them for an abortion. That is not our position to do that.
Right, oh, I agree. No.
So, when it's my chance, I'd like a point to speak.
It's your turn now, Casey.
Okay. So for me, this isn't something that needs tabled. I do have a couple questions about the policy. So, my first question is a concern for the well-being of a child if the only person that she feels she could come to is a teacher or something to that effect. What I want to make sure is that if a student comes and says that they were, something happened, and no, because I guess the teacher would then, if the student's in an unhealthy situation which has caused an unplanned pregnancy from something at home, and then the teacher would then go to the police officer versus going to. So yeah, okay. I think I just talked myself through it. So I'm good. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
It's scary. You know
Mr.
what I mean? Like
Strozier?
the last thing. Yeah, it's scary. So okay, I'm good.
I understand, Mr. Lester. Attorney Williams, just a quick question. With this legislation in the State House, this is mandated, and I heard Ms. Perry, and I know how important this is to have on the books. Just clarification, though, is this legislation something that's currently in Neola, or is this something? Or I've heard it's brand new. Is it something that Neola has covered previously in the past?
Yes, this is required by statute, Mr. Strozier. And a bit of a correction, there is a provision in the Neola supplemental policies that address this. However, the Neola provision is not consistent with the law. The law was changed in October of 2019. Under the old law, a school district, if it found a teacher to have, or a staff member to have violated the statute, you had to charge them a penalty equal to 3% of their salary. And that law was changed to drop that provision in October of 2019. So what you have in the proposed policy to add to the district, the board policies at 5860 is a policy consistent with current state law, the law that was changed effective October of 2019.
Okay.
What is currently contained in the Neola supplemental policies does not comport with state law. That's my point.
Right. So it needs to be updated to match what was passed in October 19. Okay. Thank you.
We recommend that it just be added to your current board policies in the form that's presented to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Did I see your hand, Ms. McIntosh?
No.
Okay,
No.
any further discussion regarding action item 5.5? Okay, seeing no further discussion, the vote is on the motion to move action item 5.5, first reading of new board policy 5860, prohibition of referral or assistance, and new board policy, and new board policy 5860 wait a minute, I just need to say that once. So we're going to vote on prohibition and first reading of prohibition of referral or assistance. So your answer will be yes or no. Ms. Green?
Yes to vote on it. I mean, I'm sorry, yes to move it forward. I'm sorry.
Okay. Ms. McIntosh?
Row. Yes to vote on it tonight.
It's yes to move it forward or no to move it forward.
Yes to move it forward or no to move it forward. This the site where yes to move it forward or no to move it forward. Well,
yes.
either way, move it forward.
Okay, that's a yes. That's a yes.
I mean, I don't understand that. I'm sorry. I guess I'm slow today. Yes to move it forward to the June 30th meeting.
No.
Yes to
Yes
move
to
it
move it forward to the meeting on
to the
next
May
Wednesday.
20th
No
meeting.
to deny it and
Just
adopt.
to accept, yes to accept it.
Well, see, nah, I can't hear all y'all. What, Miss Wright?
It's yes to move it to the May 20th meeting, or no, you don't want to move it to the May 20th meeting.
Oh, wow. Go to somebody else and let me read this because I'm tangled.
Okay, Miss Perry?
Oh, Lord.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to be sure too.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Mrs. Ramsdale?
Yes.
Mr. Strozier?
Yes.
Diana Wright, yes. So I'm back to you, Miss McIntosh.
Yes, because I want to
Thank
be
you.
sure too. Thank you.
All right, so the motion passes 7-0. Okay, that concludes the governance meeting. Thank you all for your discussion, and I will turn this back over to Ms. Green, I think, Finance.
Yeah, I'd like to call to order of the Finance Committee of the whole meeting. Ms. Sikowski, can you inform the board of the RFP for the bond underwriter and the following with presenting action items?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Part of the fiscal stability bond that was voted on in March, the resolution was presented to the board in April, and part of that included an RFP that went out to select an underwriter. And the underwriter, what they'll do is they'll package the bond and sell that, and that's how we receive the money as a district. The RFP was due last Friday, and Baird, which is our financial services group partner, they reviewed the RFPs and they rated all of the responses and have made a recommendation, which Anita and I have both approved, to hire two of the firms, which are Siebert Williams Shank, which is a Michigan smaller company here, female owned, and also PNC Bank. So both of them will be working for the district to sell the bonds, and we're hoping to have that done here before June 30th. So I just wanted to inform you of that. I can send out the the information that Baird put together on how they scored all of the groups if you'd like to see that. All right, and then I'll just go ahead and move into our board action items. And before I proceed, oops, sorry. Sure.
Here had a,
Was that information or is that an action?
It was informational.
Oh, okay, because it's not in the board packet.
Right. We just, as I mentioned, the RFP just ended on Friday, and they just got us, we just received the selection criteria yesterday, but I wanted the board to know right away who we had selected. And again, I can send out that information, the criteria to each of you so that you can review that at your leisure. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm good. I couldn't find it, and that's why I had to hurry up and understand.
Sorry. Okay.
Here,
Yeah.
I have a question. You said it's female owned and you said it's in Michigan here. Does that mean it's a Flint company?
No, she's it's a female owned company here, and she's actually Mrs. Shank. She is out of Oakland County. Yep, but I thought it was a great mix of a larger PNC bank. So we have that name, and then we also have a local smaller owned company working for us. So I thought that was a really great combination.
Let me just say this because I'm always pushing for local businesses to get these opportunities. Did we look at or entertain some actually local Flint businesses that could have gotten this opportunity instead of Oakland County?
Yeah, well, there's only certain select people that would actually do, that are underwriters. So this went out to all underwriters that Baird is aware of and that they've worked with prior, the RFP. And also, of course, it was posted on our website for, I believe we posted it for about a week and a half.
Okay. Thank you. Yep. Anybody else have a question? No.
Okay. Before we move on to the next items, would the board like to entertain the finance items in batch, or do you want to go through them individually?
Individually.
Yep.
All righty. Okay. And the first one is I would like to, where am I at? I'm sorry. I need a motion and a second to approve action item 11.22, authorization to execute professional services contract agreement to the regular board meeting on May 20th.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we move action item 11.22 to the board meeting, to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020. Is there any more discussion, guys? Seeing no further discussion. I'm sorry. Yeah, seeing no further discussion, item 11.22 moved to the regular board meeting, May 20th, 2020, will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no. Carol McIntosh?
Yeah.
Casey Lester?
Yes.
Terry? Terry?
Oh, I'm sorry, you broke up. Yes.
Mrs. Ramsdale?
Yes.
Blake Stroh?
Yes.
Mrs. Wright?
Yes.
Myself, Danielle Green, yes. The motion passes. Is it 7-0? 7-0?
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I would like a motion. I need a motion and a second to move action item 11.23, authorization to extend our waste services contract agreement to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020.
So moved.
Seconded.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we move action item 11.23, authorization in waste service contract agreement to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020 for your approval. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Mr. Strozier.
In regards to this is for the upcoming year. Have we looked into how this could potentially cause us to reevaluate this if school is not held during this upcoming semester coming up?
Yes, I believe that we can work with the vendor if we don't require as much service, if we don't require as many pickups as we normally do based on our school schedule. We have looked at suspending some of those services during this time period, but we still have custodians and maintenance working, so we still have that pickup, but that is an option that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any more question? Being no further discussion, the motion is on action item 11.23, authorization to extend waste service contract agreement to the regular board meeting for approval. We will conduct a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Carol McIntyre,
Yes.
Casey Lester,
Yes.
Mrs. Perry,
Yes.
Mrs. Ramsdale,
Yes, can I ask, can't we do it just with the regular vote, that we have to do it with the roll call vote? It would speed things up a little, I think.
I can't see everybody. So no, we can't. And then I
Oh,
go necessarily,
all right, thank you.
no problem. So yes or no, Ms. Ramsdale?
Yes, yes.
Mr. Strozier,
Yes.
Diana Wright,
Yes.
and myself, Danielle Green, yes. The motion passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion and a second to move action item 11.24, authorization to execute a 2-year service discount pricing agreement with AT&T to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020.
So moved. Seconded.
It is properly seconded that we move action item 11.24, authorization to execute 2-year service discount pricing agreement with AT&T to the regular board on May 20th, 2020 for your approval. Is there any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion is to move action item 11.24, authorization to execute 2-year service discount pricing agreement with AT&T board meeting for approval. I will conduct the roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no. Ms. McIntosh,
Yes.
Mr. Lester,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Mrs. Ramsdale,
Yes,
Mr. Strozier,
Yes.
Mrs. Wright,
Yes.
myself, Danielle Green, yes. The motion passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you so much. I need a motion and a second to move action item 11.25, authorization to extend pest control services contract agreement to the regular board meeting on May 20, 2020.
So moved.
second,
It has been properly moved and seconded that we move action item 11.25, authorization to extend pest control service control agreement to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020 for approval. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. McIntosh. I got you, Ms. Perry.
I've spoken to some people in the district, and they have explained to me that Southwestern and possibly Northwestern as well is having a pest control issue. And I also spoke to someone else who felt like the pest control issue was due to our doorways not being properly sealed and things of that nature. I was wondering who is going to handle that, because it doesn't make sense for us to extend. Well, we need pest control services. Let me say that before somebody takes it the wrong way. We need pest control services, but if we're not going to properly seal the doors and the holes in the building, then it kind of, alleviates the whole point of having pest control. So I was wondering if anybody could speak on that piece. Are we planning on mending those doorways? I just We have, like I said, it's an issue with pests. So what are we going to do as a district about that?
So Ms. McIntosh, I can speak to that. I was just at Northwestern earlier this week. We have had some problems with some pests at both Northwestern, Southwestern, and they aren't the only two schools. The problem isn't the doorways and us having the holes in the doorway. The problem has been that we don't have children in the building. Normally when the children are in the building, you get some that will come out, but for the most part, if we do have some, and then I'm speaking to, because I kind of walk the building with pest control, they hide within the walls. And so now that the buildings are quiet and you don't have the little feet or you don't have the voice, they're starting to come out of the walls. And
Okay.
so pest control has been working more so than they normally would, because they're coming out of the walls and they're in the hallways and in the classrooms. And so pest control has been doing very good with when Rachel calls, going out to handle any issues, but they're coming out of the walls because the buildings are now quiet, versus if there were kids in the building and we did have them, they would be hiding from the children. And I don't want anybody to think that we got a whole bunch of mice that are in the walls, because we don't, but the ones that we do have, they hide from children, and now since it's quiet, they come out into the hallways and into the classrooms. And so that's what people have been seeing lately, but pest control is on top of it and helping to take care of the issue.
So are they planning a more aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. That's what they're doing now. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And CSM is on top of it when they, noticed that, we had some that were at Flint Junior High. They were on top of it with letting us know, and pest control came right out to kind of to take care of the issue.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Terry?
Yeah, Carol, thank you for asking that, because that was one of my questions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess here's another question that's dealing with the schools, because, and mice and stuff love to be around. Have we made sure that all the trash has been emptied in all the rooms, and you're in the building?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any dirty dishes in the building?
Mm-hmm.
And are the refrigerators empty? Because some teachers do have their own refrigerators.
Mm-hmm.
So has this stuff been cleaned out as if we were
Shut down?
on shutdown for the summertime or whatever?
No, ma'am, not yet. And so the problem has been, because of the executive order, we have not been able to let staff back in the building to pack up their stuff and to totally shut down. CSM has been doing a good job with disinfecting, and they have started some cleaning work with trying to clean around. Students, some of the students still have some of their personal items at school, because we had to just shut everything down, and students were not allowed to get their personal items, and teachers were not allowed to pack up the classroom. But we've been talking and working through a plan of how we can reopen the building so that students can get their personal items and teachers can pack up their classrooms I'm going to say, and I know you can't see me, but on a volunteer basis, because the executive order is still in place through May 28th, we can't force anyone to go back into the classroom and do anything until the executive order is lifted. And then we also want to think of the safety of our students and our staff. So starting next week, our principals are going to be having on a scheduled basis. The buildings will be open so that parents can go in and get personal items. Teachers who want to can go in and pack up their classrooms. And we're hoping to do this over the course of the next 2 weeks, keeping in mind that we do have a week where we'll have Memorial Day break. So 2 weeks going up to June 5th. We're hoping that by June 5th, everyone will either have their classrooms packed up, students will have their personal items removed from the building, and we can totally shut down the buildings and do the deep cleaning that you are speaking of now, where personal refrigerators, school refrigerators will be emptied, and CSM can go in and do a thorough deep cleaning of the building after June 5th.
Okay, I guess, and I don't know how it works, but I just need to
Yes.
say this. I think all those personal refrigerators, the doors should be open and whatever's in there needs to be thrown out.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with that food. Can you imagine when they open that up, the way that stuff is going to smell?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's going to bring more gnats. Now, it's one thing I'm not saying to get rid of their refrigerator,
Mm-hmm.
but my God, that food has been in there since March
Mm-hmm.
13th or whatever day it
Mhm.
was we closed up. Is there any way legal we can just throw their food out? I mean, they're not going to eat that food now.
We hope
And
not.
yeah, I would hope not. I would hope not either. For the most part, Mrs. Perry, we do not have a lot of classrooms where they have their own personal refrigerators. We've been kind of reducing that and working on that and kind of pushing staff to use the staff lounge or the refrigerator within the community room. So I would
Okay.
hope that at this point in time, those big refrigerators that are in the community room or the staff lounge, there are only two people who have access to the buildings, and those two people are the custodians and the principals. And so I would hope that at this point in time, principals have yes said, okay, let's throw all of this stuff out of the refrigerators that are in the staff lounge. I would hope that they have done that at this point in time. I can't tell you with 100% surety that that has happened, but I would hope that with only those two people having access to the buildings that they have done that at this point in time.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there
And I
anyone?
have been walking the buildings, both Rachel and I, just kind of trying to monitor what CSM is doing. And I will tell you, in Rachel and I walking the few buildings that we have walked thus far, I don't recall seeing any personal refrigerators in any of those classrooms. And Rachel and I walked 2 buildings this week, and I was in 2 buildings last week. I don't recall seeing any personal refrigerators
Okay.
in
Okay.
classrooms. Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mrs. Roberts?
I'm done, Ms.
Yeah,
Green.
I just wanted to add a point that some years ago, when I was a principal, we were told, or through administration, to stop allowing staff to have
Mhm.
refrigerators in their
Mhm.
classrooms
That's true.
because those small refrigerators were increasing the district's
Mhm.
electric bill quite a bit. So at that time, I as a principal asked all my staff to take those things home because almost everybody had them, refrigerators and microwaves in their
Mhm.
classrooms. So
Or
they were
coffee
asked
pot.
to take, and coffee pots, because that was a fire hazard. All those
Yes.
things are fire hazards, and they're drain and they were increasing the district's bills.
Mhm.
In addition to that, in all the schools that I've ever been principal of, we did have problems with rodents, but part of that was also because teachers have a tendency to pack up stuff and stack up stuff and give mice a lot of places to hide. So part of that problem, and we did have a problem with doors not having the proper seals. And so that, in combination with a lot of extra stuff and places for them to hide. But here again, it just depends on the leadership in the building, whether they have staff to remember that those the classrooms are for students and not places to store the stuff you've accumulated over, 2 to 30 years. So all of it's true that, it's an issue with things coming in from outside and then finding lots of places to hide once they get inside. And as far as things being in the wall, mice chased me out of my own office coming out of the walls when I was at lunch. They were coming out of the wall. I couldn't believe it.
I'm sorry we missed that.
Oh, It would have been a sight. I completely moved out of that office. Because I couldn't believe they were coming out of the wall.
Is that it, Mrs. Wright?
Yeah, I'm done. Yes.
And Mr. Strozier, I cannot see you for whatever reason. So if you have something that you need to ask or you want to say, please feel free to just yell my name out. That'll work. Okay. Mr. Strozier. All right. So is there any more discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion is to move action item 11.25, authorization to extend pest control service contract agreement to the regular board meeting for approval. I will conduct a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve the motion. Ms. McIntosh? Mr. Lester? Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Ms. Perry?
Yes.
Mrs. Ramsdale?
Yes.
Mr. Strozier? Mr. Strozier? Mrs. Wright?
Yes.
Myself, Danielle Green, yes. Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Is that a yes for the vote?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is that a yes for the vote?
Yes.
Mr. Strozier? Motion passes 6.
Did we hear Mr. Strozier?
No, that's why I said 6-0, because Mr. Strozier.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Okay, are we ready to move forward?
I am.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion and a second to move action item 11.26, authorization to service storm drain and catch basin to the regular board meeting on May 20, 2020.
So moved.
Seconded.
Seconded.
Is there any discussion? No discussion. The motion is on the move. Is on the move
I
action
do have
item.
a question. I'm sorry. I do have a question.
Right, I'm sorry.
Oh, that has already been done, hasn't it?
Yes, that work has already been completed.
All right.
Is there any more discussion? Again, no further discussion. The motion to move action item 11.26, authorization to service storm drain and catch basins to the regular board meeting for approval. I will conduct a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Ms. Terry?
Yeah.
Mrs. Ramsdale?
Yes.
Mr. Strozier? Mrs. Wright?
Yes.
Myself, Danielle Green, and Mr. Strozier. The motion passes 6-0.
Okay, I need a motion and a second to approve action item 11.27, authorization to repair catch basin to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020.
So moved.
Seconded.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we move action item 11.27, authorization to repair catch basins to the regular board meeting, May 20th, 2020. I'm sorry, y'all. May 20th, 2020 for approval. Is there any discussion?
I have a question.
McIntosh?
Because I don't have the packet before me open. Is that the drainage that was in the south part of the back of a building? It was 2 of them for $2,000.
So that was the immediate fix to do so that we could clear that area. And now we need to actually fix the problem so that it doesn't happen again in the future.
Okay, I got you. Okay, Ms. Green.
Okay, is there any more discussion? No further discussion. The motion to move action item 11.27, authorization to repair catch basins to the regular board meeting for approval. I will conduct a roll call vote. As I call your name, please answer yes or no to approve this motion. Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Ms. Perry?
Yes.
Ms. Ramsdale?
Yep. Yes.
Mrs. Wright,
Yes.
Danielle Green, myself, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. Hey, Blake.
Sorry about that. I had a phone call with the church. Go ahead.
Okay, that's okay. The motion passes 7-0.
Okay, I need a motion and a second to approve action item 11.28, authorization to replace relief valve DTM boiler number 2 to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020.
So
So
moved.
move. Second.
It has been moved and properly stated that we move action item 11.28, authorization to repair relief valve at DTM boiler number 2 to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2024 approval. Discussion.
Oh, I haven't, yeah.
Ms. Perry.
Didn't we, this past school year, wasn't it told to us through administration that all our boilers were fixed and everything was fine? So now, why has this come up?
So I'm not sure.
This one wasn't part of the
There was only
JC.
one
Yeah.
that wasn't. Oh, go ahead, Karen.
Sorry, this is, this boiler at DTM was not part of the original JCI project. So that this boiler at DTM did not get replaced because it wasn't because we were thinking there's going to be a more of a renovation there. So it wasn't included in the original project that JCI did. So earlier, a few months ago, the board approved putting in a new boiler, and now this relief, is it a relief valve? Yeah, that also needs to be replaced at this time. Yep.
I don't want that. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm eating popcorn.
Mr. Strozier, I can't see you, so if you have a question or a comment, please feel free to just yell my name.
I'm good.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is to move action item 11.28, authorization to replace relief valve DTM boiler number 2 to the regular board meeting for approval. I will conduct a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve the motion. Mrs. McIntosh.
Yes.
Mr. Lester.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Ramsdale.
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Strozier.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And myself, Danielle Green, yes. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Okay, I need a motion and a second to move action item 11.29, authorization of internal inspection assistance for the same boiler, DTM boiler number 2, to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020.
So moved.
Get it.
Seconded.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we move action item 11.29, authorization of internal inspection assistance to DTM boiler number 2 to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2024 approval. Is there any discussion? Carrie. I don't know why I'm raising my hand. Carrie.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. This boiler seems like it's a couple of issues or maybe even more issues with this one particular boiler. So is this one that wasn't repaired, replaced, or nothing happened with this boiler? That's why we're going through these different things with it?
Right, yep. So this kind of goes with that relief valve. Because we're replacing that, then we're required by the state to get that inspection done. So I think once we've got the boiler, we've got this part done. Now, once we have it inspected, you shouldn't hear too much more about boiler number 2.
Boiler number 2, one that was replaced or repaired, or?
I believe it was the one that was completely repaired because we just did a JCI repair or replacement one. So yes.
So it was replaced or repaired?
Replaced, yep.
Okay. Okay, so this stuff wasn't done since it was replaced, or something else just came up?
Right, so this is just in addition to the boiler. So the relief valve is different from the boiler. It's just another part to it, correct?
Okay, that's over my head. Okay. Is there any discussion? No further discussion. The motion is to move action item 1.29, authorization of section assistance, and border number 2 to the regular board meeting for approval. I will conduct the roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve the motion. Ms. McIntosh.
Yes.
Mr. Lester.
Yes.
Carey.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramsdale.
Yes.
Mr. Strozier.
Yes.
Mrs. Wright.
Yes.
Myself, Danielle Green, yes. Motion carries 7-0.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I need a motion and a second to move action item 11.30, authorization to purchase COVID-19 supplies to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020.
So moved.
Seconded.
And Carrie, I would
Question.
ask, what are the COVID-19 supplies that we are going to be purchasing?
So this is just for, through our vendor KSS Enterprises, and this is just for disinfectant, cleaner, and hand sanitizer. So this is just some of the COVID-19 supplies that we've been purchasing, or we would like to purchase, so that we are ready when and if school opens, and we have staff in the building, that we have the cleaner and the hand sanitizer available.
So is this for the staff in the building, or is it for the maintenance company?
No, this is for, right, this would be for students and staff to be using.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I heard Blake, and then Ms. Carey, I'll get you. Blake, did you?
Yes. As far as with storage and inventory, I hate to start this whole conversation, but with us buying supplies, and with the entire community seeming to want to have access to supplies as well, what are we doing to make sure that whatever we purchase is available to our staff to make sure that they are good?
Color.
So that's an excellent question. We've actually have had this order with KSS for a few months, and we've put it on hold as we wait to get a little bit closer to when students and staff are coming back into our building, so that we can make sure that it gets to the right buildings and that it's available for the students and staff. I don't think, I would have to check with Rachel, but I think we're looking at having this delivered in July.
Okay.
Anita, you can correct that, but I think that's where we were.
Yes, so this would not arrive until July, so that it will be available and ready for our staff who return in July, and then our staff and students who may possibly return in August.
Any more questions, Mr. Strozier?
That'll be it. Thank you.
Ms. Green?
Yep, I got you. Ms. Perry?
I'm sorry, Ms. Perry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Is this enough? Is this enough supplies for the entire school year, or we're gonna have to make this purchase again?
We're gonna have to order again. We were trying not, because this is such a shortage currently for just schools as well as the community. We were trying to order what we thought that we were gonna need to start off with, and then we can put in another order in August, because even though we're putting this order in now, it is not going to come until July. So if we wait and put another order in August, then it should come just around the time that we will need it. And so we were just trying not to buy so much and be hoarders of it, and then other schools and other people in the community, and even hospitals, not be able to get what it is that they need right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Lester?
I want to make sure, kind of a part of the discussion that Blake was having. Well, yes, we need to protect our financial interests and stuff of that nature. I also want to make sure that if a student or a staff member feels the need to take any of this equipment for themselves, we should probably just let them have that. I say that because if they feel the need to quote unquote steal protective equipment from their job or their school, they probably need it more than what we would, right? I mean, like, I don't want anybody going home not having the availability for gloves, masks, equipment, anything of that. Am I out of line? Everybody's looking at me all squirrely here. So
We got support that can. Anybody that's anything from us. If they come to ask, that's a little different. But let's not just encourage the taking of things that do not belong to them. No.
well, I never encourage that, but I don't want anybody to feel that they're going to get fired because they can't afford to buy gloves or a mask at home. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's I don't know. I'll just shut up.
Yeah, you know,
Somebody and share that with them before they decide to take anything. I would hope.
can I speak?
Just 1 second. Is that Lester?
Yeah, I'm all set. That's enough dirty looks to last a lifetime. I'm all set.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
So,
Mrs.
am
Wright.
I able to?
I'm sorry. Yep.
Okay. Okay, because Casey, I think that was I think it's a nice thought, but we can't afford to supply the community. And
I recognize that.
right. So I don't think we should, I just don't think we should even encourage that, because it's going to be hard enough for us to keep all these things on hand for our students and staff. So
Let it be known that I wasn't encouraging the theft of anything.
Yes. Is that it, Mrs. Wright?
yeah, but one of the things, which I don't know if they have the capability to do this, but we used to get supplies on a monthly basis. So I don't know if they have a place where they can store it, but to even make sure that students have it, you can give a supply of whatever it is, like the first of every month or something like that. So that, if you give it all out at once, it's going to be gone, and give people the opportunity to take more than they need. But if you make a decision that every month, every classroom teacher will get a supply of hand sanitizer and a supply of wipes or something, and then the next month they get it again. So you have to come up with a process to make it last. But that was back when we had a warehouse, because we used to get a set of pencils and 2 or 3 boxes of tissue every month, years ago when we had stuff.
Miss Green?
So anyway, pardon me.
No, I just Green that I would like to talk.
Yeah. So that's I would just like to see us do sort of a standard issue on a monthly basis rather than just giving it all out at once.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Wright. Mrs. Ramsdale. Ms.
McIntosh.
Yeah, Ms.
And
McIntosh.
I agree with Ms. Wright because it's good to have, but only if the closets in their classroom lock. Because if they don't, that stuff will. I was at Gordon's, and I came out and I went to use the hand sanitizer, and I said, "You don't have a bag of sanitizer here?" She said, "No, they stole it." So, we really need to, if they have a closet they can lock it in, that's fine. But each school needs to have something, or each teacher, where it is used for that classroom and that teacher, and not for distribution among others or to take home, so I don't have to buy it. Because usually you can find it someplace.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ramsdale. Mrs. McIntosh? I heard somebody bring up gloves and masks. If we are going to bring our students back, on top of having cleaning supplies, we would have to probably provide them with masks and maybe even gloves. I don't know, but I'm sure that we would probably have to provide them with masks, because at this point state law is saying that when you are out in public, you must be wearing a mask. So if we are going to start back up in the fall, then those are issues that we are going to have to start exploring now, on top of getting, because the only reason it jolted in my mind is because somebody said we can't afford to provide them with masks and gloves, which I think we're going to probably have to at least provide them with a mask. So we got to think about that, and we got to think about hand sanitizer. If we're going to start school back up, we cannot open the doors without being able to provide them with a mask and probably hand sanitizer.
So Ms. McIntosh, we are already on that. Thank you for lifting that. We have masks are also something that is extremely difficult to get, but we have placed our first order of masks, and they came in yesterday. They came in yesterday, which was 2,500 was what we were able to get, and so we've already started that, and we have 2,500 that came in yesterday. So just wanted to kind of lift that so that you know that we're already on that and preparing for next school year and all of the possibilities of what that may look like.
Okay, Casey's generosity just made me think about that. So thank you so much, Ms. Nita.
You're welcome.
How much? Is there any more discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion is to move action item 11.30, authorization to purchase COVID-19 supplies, to the regular board meeting for approval. I will be conducting a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve the motion. Ms. McIntosh.
Yes.
Mr. Lester.
Yes.
Ms. Perry.
Yes.
Mrs. Ransdale.
Yes.
Mr. Strozier.
Yes.
Mrs. Wright.
Yes.
Myself, Danielle Green, yes. Motion passes 7-0.
Sorry about that. I had to unmute myself. Okay. I need a motion and a second to move action item 11.31, authorization to purchase management license, to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we move item 11.31, authorization to purchase management licenses, to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2024 approval. Is there any discussion?
I guess go ahead, Ms. Wright.
Oh, I wasn't raising my hand.
Ms. McIntosh.
Management licenses. What does that pertain to? What is that speaking to?
So the district is responsible for filtering the internet content for our students. When our students are in the building, it is easy for us to do that filtering. But now that we're giving devices out to our students to take home, the district is still responsible for what it is that they do on the internet. And so Mobile Guardian will allow us to filter what sites they have access to. So if a student goes to if an 8-year-old student goes to a site that he or she should not be on, let's say, for example, porn, the district is responsible for that. So
Okay.
Mobile Guardian will allow us to filter the sites that they go to while they have these devices at home.
Okay, I thought I had two motions mixed up. That's why I needed clarity.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not
So
what I-
while I'm on that, I will just add to that conversation. If the board members can remember, I talked about 3 waves for the work that the students would be doing. The first wave would be those students who had a device at home and they had internet. Then those students will be all set, ready to go with an online platform. The second wave was those students who they had internet, but they didn't have a device. And so those students have already received a device, they're all set, they're working online with their work. The third wave was students who did not have a device and they did not have hotspots. I want to share with the board members that the hotspots came in last week. The principals picked them up on Thursday. And
You guys get your hotspots?
yes, we have the hotspots. Hotspots came in last week. The principals picked them up from us on Thursday. And this week, the principals began giving devices and hotspots out to our third wave of students. So depending on the day that the building was open to do that, like for example, Door Rider, they gave theirs out today. Potter, they're giving theirs out tomorrow. There were some other schools who started giving theirs out on Monday. And so the goal is working this week and next week to be able to give that third wave of students a device and hotspot so that we no longer have to do paper learning packets for any of our students. So hopefully by the end of next week, all of our students will be online, doing their work online.
It's
Okay.
wonderful.
Thank you so much for that
Great.
update, Mrs. Stewart. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion is to move action item 11.31, authorization to purchase management licenses to the regular board meeting for approval. I will conduct a roll call vote, and as I call your name, please say yes or no to approve the motion. Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Perry?
Yes.
Mrs. Ramsdale?
Yes,
Mr. Strozier?
Yes.
Mrs. Wright?
Yes.
And myself, Miss Green, yes. Motion passes 7-0.
I seek a motion and a second to move action item 11.32, authorization to renew website content management system services to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we move action item 11.32, authorization to renew website content management system services to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have a question for the administration.
Mhm.
How do you think they've handled all this? How do you think our websites have been functionable and on point and all that they should be that we were promised?
So this isn't necessarily the one that control the content that goes on our website. This is just that we, and I don't know how to say it, I'm not techie, but it's just the, in order for us to be able to have a website, we need this.
Okay, I got
Does
you.
that make sense? But then there's somebody else that controls all of the content that goes on our website.
Okay, I got you. So this is like that central location that handles the stuff for us. Maybe is that it?
So this is the domain. In order for you to have a website, you have to have a domain. Okay,
Okay.
and so this is our host of our
Okay.
website.
I
But
got
somebody else controls all of the content that goes on our website.
you. Okay, I got you. Yep. Okay, I'm ready, Miss Green. I'm sorry.
Is there any more discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move action item 11.32, authorization to renew website content management system services to the regular board meeting. I will conduct a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Perry?
Yes.
Mrs. Ramsdale?
yes,
Mr. Strozier?
Yes.
Mrs. Wright?
Yes.
Myself, Danielle Green, yes. Motion carries 7.
I seek a motion and a second to move action item 11.33, authorization to execute services agreement to the regular board meeting on May 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we move action item 11.33, authorization to execute services agreement to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020 for your approval. And Mrs. Perry for discussion.
Just a quick question. I read all of this, but for some, I may have had a senior moment. Could you give me a quick explanation? Because I didn't quite grasp what Cirrus Dynex is.
Mhm. So the IMC clerks, they have a system for checking out books to teachers, to students, as well as checking out books in the library. So the Dynex has all of the inventory, and when they check something out to a student, they scan it and it goes directly to the student so that you know that book is attached to Vera Perry, because Vera Perry checked it out.
Okay, and so if I don't bring that book back, then
Yep.
this generates that student debt?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
So when you become a senior, you can't get your cap and gown till you pay that bill. Don't ask me how I know.
Oh, wow.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move action item 11.33, authorization to execute services agreement to the regular board meeting for approval. I will conduct a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Ms. McIntosh,
Yes.
Mr. Lester,
Yes.
Ms. Perry,
Yes.
Ms. Ramsdale,
Yes.
Mr. Strozier,
Yes.
Mrs. Wright,
Yes.
myself, Danielle Green, yes. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Ms. I seeing no further action, I declare the Finance Committee of the whole meeting adjourned, and I turn the floor over to Board President Lester.
Wait a minute.
Ms. Green,
Thank you
can
so
I make a
much.
comment?
You're welcome.
Did we?
Ms. Green, can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I just wanted the board members to see that with action item 11.22 and 11.23, you have scorecards, which is what you've been asking for a while, and there are more to come. So if you did not see those, I wanted you to see those. And the scorecards, we did a survey. Survey went out to staff, and staff had an opportunity. And with some of the scorecards, with scorecard 11.22, that did not go to staff. But the one about pest control did go to staff. And so they went out to staff. Staff had an opportunity to answer questions about how services were going. And based upon their responses, you have the information that is in the scorecard for you for 11.22 and 11.23. So just wanted to bring that to your attention and to let you know that there are more scorecards to come for other vendors.
Okay.
I kind of cut Miss McIntosh off. She was trying to say something before I was. Did you have something that you wanted to add, Miss McIntosh?
I think Miss Perry wants to address that because I was going to ask about something different.
Okay, Mrs. Perry.
Yeah. In my notes that, because when I read my board packet, I make notes and I put down I read those scorecards. I really appreciate administration having those scorecards because it does help when it's time to make a vote to renew licenses, contracts, whatever it is we're doing. So I was going to mention it and I didn't, but it's written in my notes already that this was a great thing for me to read while I was reading all the other information.
And yes, I did, Miss Green. I'm so sorry. I forgot.
Go ahead, Miss McIntosh.
So the 4.0 that they received that was based on the 100% tally, that was done by the staff.
So 11.22 professional services, that was done by people within the central office because staff wouldn't necessarily know about professional services. But 11.23, which was about waste services, and then the one on pest control, that was done by staff because staff wouldn't know information about those two.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So do I need to adjourn again, or are we out of finance?
There was something else. Oh, and I want to ask also about, I saw some things about our water stations and I didn't hear that. Did I miss that?
That was just an informational piece just to let you know what has been going on because we realize it's been a while since you've heard about the water stations. So
Okay.
we just wanted to give you an update as to what has been going on with the water stations.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm not sure. I adjourned the finance portion of the meeting, and I turned it over to Mr. Lester. So that's what I'm.
All right. Thank you, thank you, Treasurer Green. I appreciate it. I seek approval to move the action items 21.14, 21.18 in batch to the regular board meeting on 2020.
No.
I figured as much, but I thought it was worth a shot.
Yeah, you took it, but no.
Okay. All right, then I seek your approval to move action item 21. Oh, wait, is this me or does this go to Anita? No, this is me, isn't it?
It comes to me.
Oh, this is Anita, okay. I am ready, go ahead, sorry.
Okay, I seek your approval to move action item 21.14, Schools of Choice Plan, Section 105, to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020 for adoption.
So moved.
Second. Second.
Casey?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was still Anita. I apologize. It has been moved and properly seconded that we move action item 21.14, School of Choice Plan, Section 105, to the regular board meeting on May 20, 2020 for board adoption. Is there any discussion?
Okay, now, what was that action item number again?
21.14.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm trying to find my spot here.
Can you just give us an overview on what that is exactly again, please, Mrs. Stewart?
Yes, that's schools of choice. In order for us to open up the window for schools of choice for students outside of our district who would like to attend Flint Community Schools, we have to offer them schools of choice within a certain window in order for them to be able to come to Flint Community Schools
Okay.
if they live outside of our boundaries.
How much?
You're welcome.
If I can make a statement, Ms. Perry, to Ms. Perry, the board president, if I'm not mistaken, this is one of those arrangements that we win, is that this is a lose-lose in some cases, because if we don't approve it, they still leave. If we do approve it, they leave, but they have to at least go to the front door. Is that correct?
They do have to be, come to, for a student who lives in our area, and if they would like to go to a school district to another school district, outside of the schools of choice window, they have to be approved.
Gotcha.
But if they do it inside of the schools, each district has their own schools of choice window. So if they do it outside of the window, it has to go down to student services for approval. But if they do it within the window, and that school district says we have X number of seats, they can go.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move action item 21.14, School of Choice Plan, Section 105, to the regular board meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Vice President Wright?
Yes.
Treasurer Green?
Yes.
Secretary Ramsdell? Secretary Ramsdell?
Yes.
Trustee Perry?
Yes.
Trustee McIntosh?
Yes.
Trustee Stroger?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
I seek your approval to move action item 21.15, settlement of litigation, to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020 for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that we move action item 21.15, settlement of litigation, to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020 for board adoption. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, the motion to move action item 21.15, settlement of litigation, to the regular board meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Vice President Wright. Vice President Wright?
I hear you. I hear you. I definitely hear you. And I'm going to say no.
Treasurer Green?
Yes.
Secretary Ramsdell?
Yes.
Trustee Perry?
I'm vomiting as I say this, because this is a bunch of BS, but yes.
Trustee McIntosh?
No.
Trustee Stroger?
No.
It will be a yes for me. So the motion passes 4-3.
I I seek your approval to move action item 21.16, settlement of litigation, to the regular board meeting on May 20th.
So moved.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that we move action item 21.16, settlement of litigation, to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020 for board adoption. Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, the motion to move action item 21.16, settlement of litigation, to the regular board meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Vice President Wright.
No.
Treasurer Green.
Yes.
Secretary Ramsdell.
Yes.
Trustee Perry.
Vomiting again, yes.
Trustee McIntosh.
No.
Trustee Strozer.
Yes. I agree, Ms.
And
Perry.
it's a reluctant yes for me as well. The motion passes 5-2.
I seek your approval to move action item 21.17, settlement of litigation, to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that we move action item 21.17, settlement of litigation, to the regular board meeting on May 20th, 2020 for board adoption. Is there any discussion?
I guess I do
Being
have,
no Oh, yes, ma'am, Ms. Perry.
and this went on, this is for all three of these. If the board, if the nays outweighed the yay, what does that do? Because this has already been taken care of. So help me out somewhere. Am I missing something? Because I truly want to say no, but this has already been done.
Valid point.
Is
Very
Kendall still
valid point.
online? Is Kendall still on the call, in the meeting?
No, it shouldn't be.
Yes, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
So yeah, I'm sorry, Casey, but I just wanted to know if maybe Kendall could answer Vera's question.
No, go right ahead. Somebody, I don't know. I'm curious too.
It's really kind of a moot point, but it is required that you approve it because it requires the execution of a document. And any of these documents have to be approved by you, but I believe these are all covered by Middle Cities. Anita?
Yes.
Yeah. So their policy is a bit different than the norm that we see. So they have full authority to do this, but again, you're required to approve it in order to get the documents properly executed and signed.
Thank you, Kendall.
What I have
Ms. Perry, go right ahead.
heard the part about documented and signed, but just humor me. What if this last one it actually went nay? What happens at that point?
It would a legal quandary because the agreement needs to be signed in order to have the resolution completed.
Okay.
And as part of the agreement, there are provisions in it that protect the school district, going forward. So it's really a necessity. As difficult as it is to swallow, it is a legal necessity. And again, I don't like the practice, but it's part of the Middle Cities process, which again is very unusual for liability insurance carriers.
And I'd like to finish off by saying this is so unfair because the board did not know about this until about 2 weeks ago. And this practice has to stop. that agreements are made and the board never even knew that there was an agreement, a conversation of agreement with people. And now we're sitting here having to say yay or nay or whatever we're going to say to something that, well, basically we just got screwed. That's the way to say it. So, but I understand, and I will go ahead because I don't want another kind of legal quandary where this could go even higher than what it is. But I am not pleased, and we as a board need to make sure we handle our business with whomever.
Yeah.
Okay? So read between the
Yes, ma'am.
lines.
Hmm. Hmm.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move action item 1.17, settlement of litigation to the regular board for adoption, will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Vice President Wright.
No.
Treasurer Green.
Yes.
Secretary Ramsdell.
Yes.
Trustee Perry.
Vomit number 3. Yes.
Trustee McIntosh.
Just for the sake of the fact that I'm an American and I got freedom of choice, no. No.
Trustee Strozier.
I'm gonna side with him. I could say heck no, but I'll say no.
That's a yes for me. The motion passes 4-3. A reluctant yes, I'll say.
If I ever win a motion, I think I'm gonna have a heart attack on here. If I ever
Ready? I seek your approval to move action item 21.18, Genesee Intermediate School District Budget Review and Approval 2020-2021 to the regular school board meeting on May 20th, 2020 for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
So with discussion on this, Ms. Green, are you comfortable answering as you attended the meeting?
I'll give it my best shot.
Yes, ma'am. So we'll
My
start
phone-
with
I'm
Ms.
not sure what
Perry.
difficulties, but I'll give it my best shot.
President, I have a question too.
Okay, thanks, Vic.
So
We'll
who's
start with Ms.
starting?
Perry, and then Vice President Wright, and then Trustee Strozier.
Good Lord, y'all. Okay.
Oh, so I go, or is Danielle going?
No,
No,
you
he
go,
asked-
but the question will be for her.
Oh, I really don't have a question. I just have a statement to say. Due to the situations with our special ed and due to that career tech, I can't support this.
That's it.
I cannot support it because they, well, we know about special ed, but that unwritten rule that was there that you had to have a 3.0 to attend, I can't support that because that was to omit the Flint Community School students. And if it wasn't for us and Beecher and Westwood Heights, they wouldn't have the money that they have. So I will be voting no for this.
Excuse
Vice
me.
President Wright, Ms.
Okay.
McIntosh.
Huh?
After Blake. Yeah, so there's Ms. Wright, Blake, and then Ms. McIntosh.
Okay, and I'm thinking that this is the same document that we looked at last year, and basically we were put in the same position of having to pass it, but we did so with the caveats of not agreeing to components of it. And I think that that's how we handled it before. We passed it, but we included in the passing a statement that we didn't agree with the special education portion of it. And my recommendation is that we do the same thing this year. We pass those components. We pass do the action on this item, but that we also add an additional statement that we don't agree with the special education portion of it, and I heard someone talk about the skill center portion of it. We didn't do skill center last year. It was just focused on our disagreement with the way they handle special education funding. But I think it's important that we stay consistent with our opposition to how special education funding is handled. Because as I look through this document, even with the spending, they still have a $12 million fund balance, which is one of the things that we talked about before, was that, there's quite a bit of money, even after they do everything that they need to do. Like I say, over a $12 million fund balance. So I think that we need to stay the course in our opposition to these things.
And after, this is Kendall. After Danielle speaks, I'd like to speak. Go ahead, Danielle. I'm sorry.
Thank Ms. Wright for bringing that up, because me and Dr. Lopez had a conversation about that before he exited or left or whatever he's doing. And we did hear about having that caveat where, the special needs and the skill center. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I was on the call as long as I could be before technical difficulty took over. And I did yet the budget, but in the intentions of doing that caveat that Mrs. Wright just talked about.
So do we need to do that in writing as well, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I talked to Dr. Lopez about it, he said we did it on the last budget and we'll do the same thing. What that same thing was, I wasn't quite sure.
Okay, gotcha. So Monica should have a record of whatever it is. I'm not sure.
That we add that skill center component also. I just want to make sure I read that.
Or was that the one already?
And this is Kendall again. Given the fact that you have the special education fund, which the material that you get or that you got is really not complete, I would urge, in light of our administrative appeal regarding special education, that you pass a similar motion not agreeing to their proposed 2020-2021 special education budget. And Ms. Wright, what they show you is what's in the fund, but they don't show you their capital fund for special education, which is another $12 or $13 million.
That's so
Danielle, I think you saw that. So it's substantial, and it is quite a bit more than any of the comparable ISDs in our area. It's remarkable how much they have, and on a per student basis, per special education student basis, it outstrips anything else in terms of a fund balance that other ISDs have. Thank you, Casey, for allowing me to speak.
Absolutely. And then first we have Blake, then we have Ms. McIntosh, Ms. Ramsdell, then we'll go back to Ms. Wright.
Yes, my comment has been spoken, so I'm just going to say that I think all of us know exactly about GISD. Those that have been to these showings know that this has been probably the most disrespectful moments of our time on the board, because they put up there how much of a fund balance they have that's built on the backs of our students and our staff here in Flint, that they have so much capital, so much that they have been blessed with. And even when they had just opened up the Genesee Career Institute out there, it was a point to ponder about how wonderful it was to receive this from the Flint Community Schools, when in actuality, it wasn't given to them, it was more taken from us. So I agree with the Mrs. Wright's assertion that we insert something into this, because in reality, there's still funding that could be allocated to us. I know that we've had people that have been advocating for our behalf and to the state, and even going with Kendall and with a few others to the state to make sure that those dollars are allocated. But I'd rather there be something in there that, even though we approve this, we're approving this with prejudice, because we don't agree with how they're allocating this out there. There's no way in God's green earth Flint with all the necessities that we need to fully educate and fund our district is getting less money than a Grand Blanc or Swartz Creek or Flushing right now. So I support this with prejudice. I agree that we need to put something on this to make it stick. I remember the days that we used to have GISD personnel that would at least present. I know that's not possible now, but it wouldn't have hurt for them to at least been on the Zoom call or the actual go-to meeting to actually discuss it so that we could have a discussion with them and discuss our displeasure as well.
Ms. McIntosh?
Okay, so even after we added those assertions last year upon approval, did we ever get any relief where our special education students were concerned?
No. I'm not sure if you see that, but no, we did not.
Okay, and my next portion to that is, did our students ever get invited to participate in any of their skilled programs without
Nita,
having to have that 3.0 GPA?
Nita, can you speak more to that? I can't remember all the details.
So the window for Skills Center, the deadline was in April. And we do have, I'm looking back through my notes. I think we do have a number of students who have applied to attend the Skills Center in the fall. And so we will see how many of those kids actually get into the Skills Center.
So we haven't got a yay or a nay on that yet either. So that means
No, not yet. We probably won't get the yay or nay on that maybe for a couple more weeks.
okay. Well then I'd like to ask, can we maybe put this off until we get some, because it don't make sense to keep voting for it every year and then we just put little footnotes in there and they still want us however they want to do us. I mean, you know, what's the point of that? Clearly they're not caring about our students and they're not care unless we make them care. But for them to be sitting up on all the money for the special education students, but we got all the students but we don't have the money, I don't see how that's acceptable. And they said that we don't have to have a 3.0. Well, it seems like upon that, and they saw we had some conflicting situations where that was concerned, it seems like our students would have been invited in immediately. So with that being said, I don't think I'm going to support this because I don't trust them.
So
I'm
real
looking
quick,
back through my notes so I can tell you for sure. I do know that the counselors are currently working to schedule our students for the fall of 20, but I don't think we had an answer. I knew we had like X number of slots, and we were working with the ISD to put those kids in those slots, but I don't know if we
just
have
a
had
real
a
quick,
response yet or not. I'm not 100% sure, Ms. McIntosh.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
so Derek and I attended a meeting with the president of the GISD board as well as Lisa Hagel, and they, specifically said there were 37 seats available for Flint Community Schools kids because it was based on what I believe would have been a 1% of our total population of students. I think roughly, because we had 3,700 students at the time, and I think it was some formula to that effect. But this was in January, and Derek was, we were right there, and they said, yep, 37 students. So I said specifically, so if a student has a 0.1 GPA, they're still allowed to attend the skill center. And they said, absolutely, there's outside of, I believe it was behavioral consequence or something, there was nothing that would prevent the Flint kids from being able to come, because that was a big push that we discussed was it's outlandish to think that our students would be pushed away. Now, what I believe might be, and Anita, please help me with this if I'm incorrect, but the way that they're going to that they could potentially try to use a loophole would be to say it's not a GPA requirement, it's that this is an elective credit, right, versus a required credit. And so if a student needs required credits versus elective, is that going to prevent any of our kids? Is that going to be something that we need to be prepared for?
Could be.
Okay.
Could be, yes.
I just don't trust them.
Sure. Absolutely. All right, we have Ms. Ramsdell, then we have Ms. Green.
You
A
forgot
couple,
me.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. It was Ms. Ramsdale, then Ms. Wright, then Ms. Green. I'm sorry.
okay, absolutely have the letter saying that we don't agree with Ms. Wright. That's the perfect thing to do. And then in place in the letter, again, refer to that we will either hold or would hope that they would follow through on their and put the actual numbers in. And to, with the money, that line item will just continue to grow. Because if they have to stick to their formula now, since if they change it, they'll stick to it. So that money grew because they got more money than what they spent every year. So that line item, one, should only continue to grow. And two, it cannot be and should not be, which we have to keep an eye out. It cannot or should not be spent for anything else but special ed. So that line item, if we don't get any help or they don't change the formula in some way, could easily be up to 30 million in no time. And Casey, to your point, there was a time, I worked at the Skill Center for a while, but there was a time, and then when I came on the board, this was done, and it was done well when we were running it, that in some of the classes that actually earned like a math credit, for example, in the automotive, because you had to take so many, that there are some classes, and it's going to benefit the kids. It behooves the counselors to find out which sections that they go in. And the other thing is to see that the Skill Center just doesn't drop those kids into empty slots that they have. I mean, to drop somebody that is no interest in culinary arts, wants to be automotive, to put them in culinary arts because that's where they have an empty spot. So, I mean, we really have to keep a close eye on that, because along with the rest of you, I of course trust the ISD as far as I can throw it. And if they put a kid in a spot that the student is totally not interested in, that's just setting them up for failure. So that is something that we really need to keep a close eye, to make sure that it's the right fit. I'd rather put only 20 kids or 15 kids in and put them in the right spot than to set them up for failure, which with our students, that's just one more knock. So that's just my viewpoint on it.
And now, Vice President Wright.
Yeah, I just have a request. I would like for before our meeting next week to have a copy of the statement that we gave last year, and I would like to ask administration to do a statement for this year that includes the skill center. And then when we approve this budget, make sure that we have those things ready to go along with it.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Wright.
So I would like last year's document and this year's document as part of next week's board packet.
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
as additional information to hand out. Well, I guess you can't hand it out, we're not there. But anyway, you know what my request is for both last year's and a new document for this year.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We have Ms. Green and then Ms. McIntosh.
I just wanted to say something in response to what Carol was asking about the GPA and about the Act 18. We were able to get GISD to remove the question for the GPA on the application. I don't know if the whole board knows about that, but after work and Mrs. Stewart and advocates and myself, we were able to get them to remove that question from the application. But I am well aware that they can probably make a call and get a GPA. But I just wanted to let the board know about that. And also, Anita, it was something when it was the one girl, I think it was a girl, who they didn't allow into the skill center, and then they offered her to come back, and they that's opened up the slots back. Am I?
I'm not sure if it was a male or a female. I can't remember, Ms. Danielle. I'm sorry. But there was a student that last year, it was some time before that student was allowed to get into a program. And it had something to do with, there were a lot of factors, and then one factor was, as Ms. Ramsdale spoke of, even though we have 30 slots, there are only 3 slots for cosmetology, maybe 2 slots that we get for welding, maybe 3 slots that we get for nursing. And so if we fill those 3 slots up for nursing, then our kids are, those other students who want to go into nursing, they're put on a waiting list. And if somebody else from another district drops out, then one of our students can move into that waiting list. So yes, although we have a total of 30 slots, we only have X number of slots for each program. And so this particular student that I think you are speaking of, there were some issues with some of the criteria as well as availability with the slot. And then eventually we did get the student into a program of his or her choice. And I'm sorry, I don't remember whether it was male or female, but the counselors went back and forth with the ISD for a minute, and they eventually got the student in.
And another thing that I was trying to get removed, that I think should be removed, is their asking for the race. I'm not sure why that matters, but Anita, in response to what you said, is that how they do it with all the school districts in the county, the waiting list process and all that?
Yes, ma'am. Each school district gets X amount of slots for a particular program. And if I'm not mistaken, there's something to do with a lottery that happens with the counselors, and depending on what number you select within the lottery is how you get to put students into different programs.
Okay, and if I Act 18, I just wanted to, I don't know if Carol know about the new hearing that's coming up, because we're still fighting that fight. If they do end up giving us anything, it's going to be because we fighting. They're not going, because we asked to voluntarily just relinquish some of those funds to the district because it's the right thing to do. And GISD did not agree with that. So thank you, Kendall, and everybody else. The hearing was canceled or postponed because of the pandemic, but we do have that new hearing. I think it's in July or June. Kendall, I know you know. But it's coming up. Pardon me?
Yes, I'm still here. Yeah, Danielle, yeah, you're right. We have a week hearing starting
14th.
July 13th for the entire, we expect to go through 4 days, leaving Friday as kind of a makeup day if needed. Given the way situations are now, it may be a video as opposed to live, but we'll see.
Okay. The thing kind of muffled because you and Kendall were speaking. Danielle, can you give me that date again?
July 14th through the 17th.
July 14th. Okay. Thank you.
That's the new date because that one was postponed. But it's still an ongoing thing. And don't think for a second that they're giving us nothing. It's because we're going to have to make them. They're not going to do it unless we fight and fight and fight.
Yeah, it's actually, Carol, it starts Monday, July 13th.
Oh, the 13th. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And
Okay.
Casey, if I may, I don't want to interrupt anyone, but may I make another comment?
Sure, go ahead.
And as Danielle has indicated, clearly it's just a fight. We may be able to resolve it, but I know Carol suggested perhaps not approving any aspect of their budget. I would urge and suggest approving those portions you're comfortable, board's comfortable with, but as to the other, both the special ed fund and the skill center, what you did last year as a board, I think can send a strong message to the other school districts. Our efforts to change the formula under Act 18 funding, it doesn't just benefit the Flint schools.
Right.
There are other school districts within the GISD that will benefit as well, because they have, given their number of special education students, they have a right as a matter of equity to receive more funding. And I think this provides an opportunity to let other school districts know how much of a fund balance the GISD has in its special education fund. If that money were distributed like other ISDs throughout the state, again, it would not just be the Flint schools that would benefit, it would help other school districts in the GISD. And the fact of the matter is that most school districts spend money out of their general fund for special education. We spend millions, but others do the same thing. And this would help tremendously a number of school districts throughout the GISD. Thank you.
Thank you, Kendall.
Ms. McIntosh, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
I did. Are we watching the way they distribute the slots? Do we know the formula? You said it's a lottery or something? Because I just don't trust them, because I guess I would like to know if they're letting other schools put 10 people in the program and only 2 or 3 slots are left available and they'll just go on and give them to us. I wanted to know how conducive was their process for everybody. Is it an equal process? Because at this point, I don't think GISD is really interested in treating us fairly at this point.
So the way that I understand it is, as Mr. Lester stated before, they give you a certain percent. Well, there's so 10% of your student population, roughly, is able to go to the Skill Center. So for us, we have about 32 slots. That's
Okay.
maybe a little less than 10%. So depending on the size of your school district, you may have more slots, because there are other school districts who do have more slots than what Flint has. Flint has a small number of slots. Beecher has a small number of slots, but when you look at Grand Blanc, they have more slots than what we have. And so if you have more slots, then that means you have more slots for each program.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback on something that Kendall had said with the other districts in our area that would stand to benefit, like Linden, for example, would gain, I think it was something like $40,000 a year for their special education. One of the hardest hit districts would have been Grand Blanc. They were the ones, there was somebody sitting next to me at the meeting that they had, that the woman said that they should just close the district in reference to Flint Community Schools, which, I mean, I recognize they're going through their own hardships of figuring out how to spend the $87 million bond that they just passed to renovate their stuff. So it's pretty much the same thing. I get it. So that being said, let's get back to seeing no further discussion. The motion to move action item 21.18, Genesee Intermediate School District Budget Review and Approval 2020-2021 to the regular board for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Vice President Wright.
Yes, only with the added statement that, and it includes our opposition to certain categories.
Yes, with caveat heard. Secretary Ramsdell?
Yes.
Treasurer Green, I'm sorry, I skipped you.
Don't be skipping me. Yes, with the caveats for the Act 18 and the Skill Center components. Absolutely.
Yes, with caveat heard. Trustee Perry?
Reluctantly, I'm saying yes to the whole thing, just because Attorney Williams said this is what should happen, but I truly don't want to say yes to everything, but I will. As long as those two pieces, those two caveats are added to the letter.
Okay.
Reluctant yes with caveat heard. Trustee McIntosh?
Are we sure to make sure this language is in there? I mean, can we be sure? And
that's why I asked for it at the next
still got a
meeting.
question. Once we put the caveat in there, what does that do? I'm sorry, I need to know that. What effect would the caveat give?
If I may, it's the way it was drafted last year, and I worked up language for it. It approved, the resolution approved the proposed budget with the exception of, and it stated an objection by the Flint School Board to the special education budget of the GISD. And again, I'm getting older, so I can't remember all the language. But the purpose of it was to send a message to the GISD that the Flint School Board felt strongly that the amount of their fund balance was excessive in their special education fund.
Thank you, Attorney Williams, because I had just asked Mo who drafted the revision, and I believe you stated you drafted the revision. Did I hear you say that, Attorney Williams?
Yeah, I provided it to Monica last year.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
In fact, I remember it because Monica sent me a message as I was being wheeled out of the hospital following knee surgery.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna vote yes with those special, with the special documentation with the added information that I do not agree with the special education. A yes for the rest.
Yes, with caveat heard. I believe Trustee Strozier has jumped off the call. It's going to be a yes for me as well, with the caveat as Attorney Williams is going to put in. So the motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Ms. Stewart.
Thank you.
Before I adjourn the meeting, do any board members have very quick, and I emphasize very quick, comments that they would like to discuss?
Yes.
Yes, Ms. McIntosh.
I would like to see the board packet mailed to us because half of my stuff is not on the screen. Then I got to be asking what is this action item and all that. I would like to see those board packets since we don't have to meet up at Southwestern anymore. We're saving on our light bill, so I figured that we can spend that on stamps so we can get the information so I can not have to keep asking what is this, what is that.
The only problem with that might be how slow mail is right now. I mean, shipping's so far behind, and sometimes the packet doesn't get done until Monday, I believe. But I mean, there might be maybe a pickup situation that could be possible. I don't know.
Let's get the Pony Express or something in. We got to do something because we need the information. We can't just be making decisions and,
Sure.
we need that.
No, I agree. So let's figure out a way to get that physically into your hand to make sure that
even if I had to pick it up like a day or two before the meeting, I don't want to pick it up the same day because that's
no, absolutely.
But if I could pick it up maybe 2 days prior to the meeting or something, so I could have a chance to, because this right here, it's cool because we're in a crunch, but we can't do business like this.
I agree.
And we would have no problem with doing that for you or McIntosh, if you just call or text me. I would have no problem printing it out or having someone to print it out for you, if you don't mind picking it up from the administration building. We can work through that. I'll check on the mail situation, but that could be a plan B for us to work through.
I absolutely would appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? Oh, Ms. Perry?
I just want to say, I don't know how many people on the board remembers Mr. Jack Daniels, who taught at Lowell, I believe it was. He passed this morning.
Oh, dear.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, he and I attend, he and his family and we attend the same church. And
Yes.
so his daughter called me today. So yeah, so Mr. Daniels passed.
That's too bad.
What did he do?
Part of low.
What was his role in the district?
Huh?
What did he do in the district?
If I'm not mistaken, he was a gym teacher.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then he not only, well, he went between two schools because he did his teaching here, but he also was a football coach at Powers.
Ms. Perry, do you want to do a moment of silence? Do you want to lead us in a moment of silence?
I really don't think we have to. I just wanted to make sure that has been said and it's put on record, just so that, to give respect to the family that and to the staff that he was a long time employee of our school district. And I just wanted to make sure that got on record.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other discussion? Seeing no further action, I declare the board committee of the whole meeting adjourned. Good night, everybody. Where's that gavel? I will see you all in a week.
Bye, everybody, stay safe.
Stay safe.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.
Good night.